Hey guys, it's Monday night. I just wanted to send you a quick little video about your inference unit test. It's just 4 paragraphs you have to write, but I'm getting some of the same questions, so I want to address in this video. But before that, I want to say thank you guys for sharing your good things. I see a lot of you are doing baking, cookies, brownies, cupcakes. Someone made some pancakes, waffles, cinnamon rolls. Awesome. So that inspired me. Tonight, I made pumpkin pie. Actually, in my house, if you guys had smell-o-vision right now, you could smell the pumpkin pie. Do you guys like pumpkin pie? I feel like people either love it or they hate it. Well, our family loves it. So we have it in the oven and we're going to eat it maybe for breakfast. Don't tell anyone, but maybe we'll have it for breakfast tomorrow. You know, something else I do love is inference when it comes to hypothesis tests and confidence intervals. So let's first talk about that. What's the difference between those two? So let's say M&Ms, right? The M&Ms, I'm just going to make up an example. M&Ms distributor, I think Mars makes them. Anyways, Mars says that 20% of a bag would be the color, let's say, brown. Okay? So you think that Mars is wrong, and you think that it's actually less than 20%. So in this case, your null hypothesis would be 20% or 0.20, and your alternative would be less than 0.20. So in that case, you're testing it against a claim, right? So that would be a hypothesis test. Now, confidence interval is, let's say, the true proportion, right? The true proportion is somewhere between, it's like 20% plus or minus 3%. So you just said, if you said 20 plus or minus 3, that would be from 17 to 23, right? So you just made an interval. So somewhere in between 17 to 23 is a true proportion. So that's the confidence interval, okay? The next thing you're gonna have to figure out is which type of inference is it? So you have a one mean, two mean, sorry, that's one, so one mean is a type, two means is another type, you have one proportion, that's another type, and then two proportions, we're comparing, that would be the fourth option. The fifth option is what we just took our quiz on last week. It's the matched pairs t-test. So hopefully by now you guys know the difference between a proportion, right, and a mean. A proportion is just like a percentage or probability, and a mean is simply an average, where you take a sample and you take an average, something like your average height, your average weight, your average whatever number of M&Ms you find in a bag. Okay. Now the ones you may have some trouble with is the, before we go to that, remember z scores and z curves are for which one? Proportions. Good job. And then t curves, right? T scores are for means, one mean or two mean. The third one, matched pairs t-test, right? That's also a t-curve. So what's the difference between a one mean and a matched pair? Now it has to do with independence or dependence. So when your samples are independent of one another, that means that it's going to be a two sample mean t-test. But if they're dependent, right? Like, let's say you're testing, those of you participated in collecting our sample last week, right? So we have one person, let's just pick Mr. Jerishow. So Mr. Jerishow does he checks his heart rate, and his heart rate's like 60, and then he does his 20 jumping jacks, and it jumps up to, 100, let's say. So because Mr. Jerishow did it before and after, that's the same person, that first heart rate of 60, right, is dependent, or I should say the 100%, the 100 beats per minute after the jumping jacks is dependent on his resting heart rate, his 60 beats per minute. So you can compare those. But if you had, say, you had Mr. Jerishow do his heart rate before, and then you took Mr. Lee and he did his jumping jacks after, you can't compare those. Those are two different people, right? So those are independent. But dependent would be your right hand and your left hand, your weight before, your weight after, or something like that. Okay, so do some more investigation, some digging into that, because it's a really, really important distinction right there, okay? I hope this helps you guys out. You can do it. Do a good job. This is probably this might be the most difficult part of AP statistics. Once you get this down, you'll be like gold, okay? I'm pretty sure, I've been thinking a lot about what kind of questions are they going to have on the AP exam, And every year there is an inference test. You don't know which one it is. You have to figure out which of the 5. But I think this is a really, really good practice for you, okay? All right, guys, take care. Good night.